Yellowstone National Park is not only renowned for its diverse wildlife, but it's well known for its geothermal features too. More than 10,000 hydrothermal phenomena, including geysers, are an astonishing array of hot springs, mudpots, travertine terraces, are preserved at this national park. Recently, scientists have made a surprisingly discovery, putting Yellowstone, the biggest megafauna locale in the United States, back in the news. Let's find out what it is. A recent study revealed that the supervolcano in Yellowstone National Park reportedly contains a lot more magma than previously thought. The Wyoming side of the Yellowstone National Park is where the supervolcano is situated. It's frequently referred to as the Yellowstone caldera. After a significant eruption in the area, the feature was formed hundreds of thousands of years ago. The Yellowstone caldera is a vast bowl-like region that is 30 to 40 miles in width. The volcano's explosion might change the atmosphere for a long time. It might even be able to keep the sun out for several months. The findings suggest that certain relatively small to moderate-sized magma masses beneath Yellowstone could be roused and released. According to an article published, the newly discovered lava is also flowing at shallow depths that fueled earlier eruptions. Seismic tomography method was used by researchers to map the seismic wave speed beneath the Yellowstone volcano. Seismic waveform modeling in 3 dimensions assesses the melt's volume and makes assumptions about how it's distributed throughout Yellowstone's magma reservoir underneath. The new investigation resulted in significant images illustrating the amount of magma under the Yellowstone volcano. A greater knowledge of the volcano is probably going to result from this new study. The risk it might provide in the future are also considered. The researchers are keen to point out, however, that these findings do not imply that an eruption at the well-known national park is about to occur. The volcano is not necessarily more dangerous than previously believed either. Even though lava flows are a type of magmatic eruption, caldera-forming explosions are more harmful. Instead of obliterating everything in their path quickly, lava flows seep out of the ground over the course of days, months, or even years. Additionally, they're uncommon. The last lava flow in Yellowstone happened about 70,000 years ago, but current eruptions are still visible in the distant rock layer that may be seen along the park's trails. The rocks at Old Faithful's Upper Geyser Basin contain some remnants of more recent lava flows. The Yellowstone hotspot, like all volcanic hotspots, hasn't changed over the millions of years that the North American continent has been moving southwest. In what is now the southeast part of Oregon, the Yellowstone hotspot's first eruptions occurred. Most recently, eruptions have been occurring in northeastern Wyoming. Officials within the United States Geological Survey believe that a big explosion of the magnitude of the most recent one is unlikely. The Yellowstone Volcano Observatory officials actually feel that lava flows or hydrothermal explosions are the events that are most likely to happen in the near future. Hydrothermal explosions release steam and hot water in contrast to molten rock explosions. The Yellowstone supervolcano has a heated zone of molten and semi-molten rock known as magma. A reservoir of chamber that is 4 to 6 miles beneath the park caused the ground to rise as magma enters it. As the magma begins to cool and solidify, the ground crumbles. Volcanologists who have been keeping an eye on the activity since 1923 estimate that the ground rose about 25 centimeters between 2004 and 2009. But about 2010, the ground began to sink. Due to the era of slow, continuous expansion, many experts are wondering about the likelihood of an impending Yellowstone eruption. Concerns have been expressed about the eruption's potential ferocity if it happens. The estimation of the eruption size based on the level of previous underground activity is speculative. Over the past 10 years, the volcano has erupted at the swiftest rate ever recorded. Yellowstone experiences between 1,000 and 3,000 earthquakes every year. Most of them are almost invisible at magnitude 3 or less. However, these tremors aid in the understanding of how quickly the magma chamber under the park is expanding. There may be fresh magma in the reservoir if there is noticeable rise in the amount of shaking and rattling heard throughout the park. Despite the increase of temblors, scientists don't think that the magma chamber rumblings pose a threat anytime soon. Since it hasn't been feasible to thoroughly evaluate everything that has happened in the park, geologists find it challenging to predict Yellowstone's next move. The specific nature of what is occurring is so impossible to determine. The previous 2.1 million years have seen 3 large eruptions, each occurring between 600,000 and 800,000 years apart. There's evidence of the most recent significant occurrence throughout the park in thousands of kilometers of the surrounding terrain, which is considered to have occurred about 640,000 years ago. There is some proof of the most recent eruption inside the 45-mile-long and 30-mile-broad Yellowstone caldera itself. This area, called the Lava Creek Tuff, still has heavy volcanic material. Yellowstone is situated in the area that has been seismically and volcanically active for millions of years. Due to the tectonic movement of the North American plate thinning the Earth's crust there, a hotspot or site where a dome of magma or molten rock comes near to the surface has formed there. A subsurface magma dome that had been building up in the Yellowstone region exploded around 2.1 million years ago, causing one of the most devastating volcanic eruptions in recorded history. About 600 cubic miles of rock and ash were blasted, which is 6,000 times more volcanic material than was released during the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption. In reality, the eruption was two different ones that occurred around 6,000 years apart, as was revealed in the early 21st century. Two other important eruptions occurred approximately 1,300,000 and 640,000 years ago. The latter, which was primarily formed of lava flows, produced roughly 2/5 as much material as the former. After the magma dome's content was released after each of several eruptions, it collapsed, creating a sizable caldera. As the Yellowstone supervolcano collapsed on itself, it swallowed up the entire landscape, including all the trees, mountains, and other features. The depressions that result from the process are known as calderas. The eruption that created a caldera in Yellowstone would pose a serious natural hazard. The current Yellowstone caldera, which is roughly oval-shaped basin around 30 to 45 miles and including the northern two-thirds of Yellowstone Lake, was produced by the third eruption. It is situated in the national park's west-central area. Many of the park's most well-known hydrothermal occurrences originate from the Western Dome. In the caldera, two resurgent magma domes have been forming, one just north of the other, just west of the Yellowstone Lake. The Yellowstone region is also experiencing a lot of seismic activity. The park's location on top of the network of faults associated with the region's volcanic history also explains why the area experiences hundreds of little earthquakes annually. While most of these tremors have a magnitude of 2.0 or less and do not have an impact on the local population, on rare occasions, a stronger tremor will happen close and have an effect on the park. One such occurrence is a fatal earthquake that struck in southern Montana, just outside the park's northwest corner in 1959, which had an effect on a number of hydrothermal phenomena at Yellowstone, including its well-known geyser, Old Faithful. The United States Geological Survey and the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory also keep a close eye on Yellowstone. If the next great eruption in Yellowstone occurs during our lifetimes, there will surely be death and destruction, but not sufficient to bring about the end of the Earth. Identifying the amount and location of magma below the surface is crucial for determining the risks of volcanic eruption, and ongoing monitoring of the subsurface is crucial to provide a clear image if the situation starts to materially change.